Welcome one and all. The PS2 may be over 20 years old, but that does not mean there are not gems out there to be discovered, such as this game, 2002's Headhunter. The game takes place in a near future America, in a city that I believe they modelled on LA. Criminals are punished not just by serving time in prison, but having their internal organs removed and given to rich people. So that's nice. You're playing as Jack Wade. Now you actually start the game escaping from a laboratory, and then you wake up in hospital, which is the scene you're seeing here, with your old boss talking to you, and you've got amnesia. You don't know what's going on, why you're there, what happened to get you there. But you do find out that you used to be a headhunter, someone tasked with tracking down the criminals. And there's been a murder. A chap called Christopher Stern, who founded a lot which is responsible for the current way of life. Fortunately, his daughter wants to help you, so she becomes an ally to help you not only get back to being one of the top headhunters in the city, but to find out exactly what's going on, and she gives you a motorbike, which is very handy, because it's the only way you can get around. The game itself tells the story through cutscenes and full motion video, remember that? I still think it works in some instances, and it works well here. My favourite are the satirical style newscasts with the fictional news teleprompters. They're actually really quite funny, and it gives you an insight into the world in which the game is taking place. Now, as fun as driving around on a motorbike is, it is just used to get you from where you need to be for your missions, or for the testing agency, because you need to have a licence to be a headhunter, and your previous one, as I've said, it's been revoked. So you start off by taking the initial test, do some missions, I think you know where this is going, get the next level, do some more, get the next level, do some more. And you do also find yourself with a rivalry, with a fellow headhunter. And it adds a little bit of a spirit of competition in to try and get the best scores on these tests. They're like mini missions, just with holograms instead of real people, and they're quite good fun, and it does work as a bit of a tutorial as well. Communication-wise, apart from in person, you have got what is now, I suppose, an iWatch, but at the time was something that had never been invented, and it was only a matter of fiction. A watch that you could communicate on. Who'd have thunk it, eh? I will say the story is very well done, and it is quite compelling, because each mission, when it ends, you get a little bit closer to finding out who killed Christopher Stern, why, and of course figuring out why you've got amnesia and what happened to you. And I never guessed it playing through the game. I've got to say, there were some nice little twists and turns which really did keep me engaged. The game itself is played, as you can see, from a third-person perspective, and apart from the driving bits, it's basically a third-person shooter. There are some puzzle elements which are done quite well. It reminds me a teeny tiny bit of Resident Evil, not because there's a horror element, because there's not, but just in the way it's portrayed. So you have to find a way to wire in a circuit board to power a lift, to move something. Underneath that something you've moved, you'll then find a key, which can unlock a locker, which will then let you into a different part of the building. It's not done so it's so difficult that you can't figure it out, and it is a nice little distraction from the gunplay, and adds another layer of gameplay to it, so you're not just doing the same thing constantly, which is always something I like in a game. I like it to mix it up a little bit, so then it stops it getting tedious, because nobody wants to get bored, do they? There's also a decent inventory system, where you can store the things you find to get you through these environmental puzzles. Weapons-wise, you will unlock these as you go through the game. Whenever you get your next level of license, you then can have an additional weapon, a different tool. So you start off with their equivalent of a pistol. You can then get like a shotgun and a machine gun. They are basically standard weapons, but in the game, they've been modified so that they take people out by causing them pain and brain damage, but don't damage the organs, because they're for rich people. Bit dystopian, but that's the world they've created, and they've done a good job of doing so too. With the gunfights, there is a cover system available as well, so you can play it as a third-person cover shooter to a degree. It works really well. I've got to say, I think as far as third-person shooters on this generation of games go, it's one of the best in the gameplay. It really is nice and tight and plays really well. Or at least that's my opinion. Obviously, if you think differently, don't be afraid to say in the comments. I'm always open to other people's opinions. But I like it. I think it goes really well and it keeps me engaged. Also, I think it looks really good as well. As far as 6th gen games go, this is a pretty good looking game. It's not all dark and gloomy, although there are obviously parts of it. You can go into some nice bright places as well. I think the game environments are done as well as could possibly be done with the limitations of the console. They vary a bit, as much as you could hope for. The levels themselves are semi-open, so they're not the biggest areas in the world, but you can approach missions how you wish, and you can approach stealthy if you want to, or just go in all guns blazing. What tended to happen to me is I'd start off with the aim of being stealthy, make a mistake which was completely my fault, and then just have to shoot everybody. But hey, all guns blazing, that's always good fun as well. If I had one little criticism, it would be that sometimes it's not always easy to find the objects you need to then progress the level and progress the game, but there's always an online tutorial that you can load up through Google and check if you really want to cheat, or you can just enjoy searching around the levels till you find something. It's pretty obvious when you find something, you've usually already found what you need to do with it, or you will find. For example, here you get yourself some wires. Now you've already found a electrical box, as you can see here, which has got a broken wire, so it doesn't make it so that it's difficult, and it doesn't take a great deal of brain work, but as I've already said, it does break up the action and give a different level of pacing and different level of gameplay. The voice acting with all the different characters is really good. It's done very well, and I found myself looking forward to the cutscenes to advance the story, which I've mentioned numerous times now as being really good. But trust me, it's one of the best things about this game. The story is absolutely exceptional. And the only other thing you have got as well, at the end of not every level, but some levels, is a boss fight. These generally just present themselves in the form of a more powerful enemy with a more powerful weapon, and can take a few goes to get through, but they are actually really good fun as well. This game is influenced heavily by the best type of movies that have ever come out of Hollywood. 80s action movies. You could easily see the character being played by Sly Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger shouting at the top of his voice, "Get to the chopper." And it is a real gem of a game. It's pretty cheap to pick up, and if you've got a PS2, get this in your library. You won't regret it, I promise. Now, as always, over to you wonderful people. Have I convinced you to give Headhunter a go? There's also a sequel, Headhunter Redemption, which I've just started playing, and I've got to say, so far, very good as well. Let me know in the comments what you think. Is this a blast from the past that you want to replay, or one that you're going to pick up as soon as you finish watching this video? I want to thank you very much for watching. If you would be kind enough to tickle the like button, maybe even subscribe if I've done enough to earn that from you, I'd really appreciate it. And until next time, ta-da for now.